Once upon a time, in a small, quiet gym, long before the world knew his name, a young boy dribbled a basketball alone. The world was asleep, but he was awake, perfecting his craft. The echoes of the bouncing ball were the only sounds in the empty space. He was tired. His muscles burned. His body screamed for rest. But he had a dream to become the greatest. His name, Michael Jordan. On the other side of the country, another boy was up before dawn, training in the freezing cold, taking thousands of shots before school. His name, Kobe Bryant. And years later, another young boy, raised by a single mother in Akron, Ohio, was determined to lift his family out of poverty with nothing but a ball and a dream. His name, LeBron James. These three legends had one thing in common: deep work. The ability to focus, to train relentlessly, to drown out distractions, and to sacrifice everything for greatness. But what exactly made them different? Why did they rise above thousands of other talented athletes? In a small town, there was a young boy named Jordan. He loved basketball, but wasn't the best player on his team. In fact, he was cut from his high school varsity team. He felt humiliated. That night he went home, locked himself in his room, and cried. Most kids would have given up, but not Jordan. Instead of quitting, he doubled his efforts. He woke up before sunrise, ran in the cold, lifted weights, practiced his footwork, and took thousands of shots. Nobody was watching. Nobody was praising him. But he kept going. His mother once told him, "Work so hard that they have no choice but to remember your name." Just like the bamboo tree that grows roots beneath the surface for years before it shoots up, Jordan's success was growing in the shadows, unseen. Then one day he stepped onto the court and became the greatest basketball player of all time. But Jordan wasn't alone. The ability to focus, train relentlessly, and sacrifice short-term pleasures for long-term greatness is what defines legends. Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James are perfect examples of this principle in action. But this concept isn't just for basketball. It applies to life, business, and personal success. To understand it better, let's start with a powerful story, one that mirrors the journey of every great achiever. In a small village, there was a boy named Arjun. His family was poor, and they struggled to make ends meet. But Arjun had a dream. He wanted an education. There was just one problem. His village had no school, and his family couldn't afford to send him to another town for studies. Every day, Arjun helped his father in the fields. But in his heart, he longed for something more. He watched children from a neighboring village attend school and imagined himself sitting in a classroom. One day he made a decision. No matter what, he would educate himself. He started borrowing old books. Every night, after long hours of work, he would sit under a dim lamp and study. His progress was slow. His family discouraged him, telling him he was wasting his time. But Arjun refused to quit. His journey was hard. There were moments when he wanted to give up. One evening, exhausted from work, he looked at the distant school and thought, "What if I never get there? What if all my efforts are in vain?" At that moment, a wise old man saw him and said, "Patience and perseverance are the seeds of success. You may not see results immediately, but remember the bamboo tree. It grows underground for years unseen. Then in a few months it shoots up to the sky. Be like the bamboo, steady, patient, and relentless." This lesson changed Arjun's mindset. Months later, something incredible happened. A new school was built in his village. Arjun finally got his chance. Though he struggled at first, he worked harder than anyone. Soon, he became one of the best students. Years later, he became a teacher, bringing education to others. What does this story teach us? Success is like the bamboo tree. For years, it may seem like nothing is happening. But those who stay committed and consistent eventually rise above everyone else. This is the same mindset that made Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron legends. The cold air of Los Angeles was still and quiet. The city was asleep. But in one gym at 4 a.m., the sound of sneakers squeaking on hardwood echoed like a war drum. Inside, drenched in sweat, Kobe Bryant was already on his second workout. Most NBA players were still in bed. Some wouldn't wake up for another 3 hours. But Kobe, he was already light years ahead. He wasn't just training. He was obsessing. And this obsession is what separated him from 99.9% of the world. There's a story of a young boy named Arjun who lived in a small village with no school. His family struggled to make ends meet, and the idea of an education seemed like a distant dream. But Arjun refused to accept his fate. Every night after a long day of working in the fields, he studied under the dim light of an oil lamp. His progress was slow. The villagers laughed at him. Even his family told him, "You're wasting your time, Arjun. Our life is hard. We need you to work." But Arjun didn't listen. He would stare at the distant school in the next village, watching other children study, and tell himself, "One day I will sit in that classroom." Night after night, while the rest of the village slept, he worked in silence. He borrowed old, tattered books. He practiced writing on sand. He repeated his lessons until they were burned into his memory. It was painful. It was exhausting. It was lonely. But he refused to stop, because he knew something no one else did. He knew that success is not about talent. It's about obsession. Like Arjun, Kobe Bryant understood a simple but powerful truth. If I train while others sleep, I will always be ahead of them. While most NBA players followed the standard schedule of 1 or 2 training sessions per day, Kobe developed his own 4 a.m. rule. This wasn't just about hard work. This was mathematics. Here's how Kobe broke it down. A normal player trains twice a day. If he trained 4 times a day, he would double his progress. Over weeks, months, and years, this gap would become impossible to close. By the time his competitors woke up and got to the gym, Kobe had already put in 2 extra sessions. Multiply this by 365 days a year, and in 5 years, he wasn't just a little bit ahead, he was in another universe. Just like Arjun staring at the distant school, Kobe could see a future that no one else could. The deep work principle, mastering the details. Kobe didn't just practice. He practiced with obsession. Most players would take 100 different shots in a single session. Kobe, he would take one single shot hundreds of times. He studied his footwork like a scientist analyzing a formula. He broke down defensive strategies as if he were playing chess. He even called retired NBA legends at 2 a.m. to ask about post moves. "If I want to be the best," he once said, "I have to learn from the best. No excuses." His workouts weren't just physical. They were mental warfare. Deep work is a concept by Cal Newport that describes the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. Kobe lived this principle. He removed distractions. He isolated himself from the noise. He focused on mastery. Every shot, every movement, every detail perfected. Kobe called this philosophy the Mamba Mentality, the relentless pursuit of greatness. But here's the truth, greatness comes at a price. While others partied, Kobe was in the gym. While others celebrated wins, he was analyzing his mistakes. While others rested, he pushed himself harder. One of his former teammates, Jay Williams, shared a chilling story. One day, he went to the gym hours before a game to get in some extra work. When he arrived, Kobe was already there. He had been practicing for hours, completely drenched in sweat. Williams trained for another 2 hours and left. Kobe, he kept going. Later that night, Kobe dropped 40 points in the game. When Williams asked him why he trained so hard, Kobe simply replied, "Because I saw you come in, and I wanted you to know that no matter how hard you worked, I would work harder." This was his mindset. He didn't just want to be great. He wanted to make sure no one could ever outwork him. One, wake up earlier than everyone else. If you wake up at 6 a.m., start waking up at 5 a.m. If you wake up at 5 a.m., try 4 a.m. Those extra hours of focused work will compound over time. 2, obsess over the details. Whatever your craft is, study it like Kobe studied basketball. Break down the small details that others ignore. Become a scientist of success. 3. Do the work in silence. Stop looking for motivation. Stop waiting for permission. Get to work. No excuses. 4. Develop your own Mamba mentality. Most people are afraid of discomfort. They avoid pain. They avoid failure. You must do the opposite. 5. Train while others sleep. There will always be someone more talented than you. But no one should ever outwork you. Just like Arjun, just like Kobe, you must be willing to work while no one is watching. Success doesn't happen overnight. For years, the bamboo tree grows its roots underground. No one sees the progress. No one notices the struggle. Then one day, it shoots up faster than anything around it. This is how greatness is built. Not in public, not overnight, but in the silent, relentless hours of deep work. The question is, are you willing to work in the dark while the world sleeps? Because one day, just like Kobe, you will rise above them all. It's the NBA Finals, Game 5. The stadium is electric. The crowd roars as the Chicago Bulls battle for another championship. The ball is in Michael Jordan's hands. His defender, a top-tier athlete, moves aggressively, trying to predict Jordan's next move. But Jordan already knows what will happen next. Because he's seen this moment before. Not just in games. Not just in practice. But in the quiet hours when no one was watching, in the film room. As the defender lunges, Jordan spins effortlessly, not by luck but because he has studied this opponent's footwork 100 times before. A quick step, a perfectly timed fadeaway, swish. Jordan didn't just play basketball. He mastered it. And his secret? Deep work. In a distant village, a young boy named Arjun sat beneath a tree, staring at the distant school building. He wanted more than anything to be in that classroom. But with no money, no school in his village, and no way to live, education seemed impossible. Yet instead of accepting his fate, Arjun found another way. He began observing and learning in silence. He borrowed books from students in the next village. He listened carefully when people spoke about lessons. He practiced his writing on the ground with a stick. While others played, he studied. While others slept, he memorized. He realized that true mastery comes not from natural talent, but from deep, focused work. Just like Jordan, Arjun wasn't gifted an easy path. He had to find his own way to learn, and he refused to stop. People look at Michael Jordan's career and think of the dunks, the championships, the game winners. But what they don't see are the thousands of hours of unseen work. Jordan wasn't just a great player because he could jump high or shoot well. He was great because he studied the game at a level no one else did. He watched game films obsessively. He memorized the tendencies of every defender. He analyzed the angles, footwork, and psychology of the game. Every player had weaknesses, Jordan just knew how to find them. Cal Newport's concept of deep work describes the ability to focus intensely on a cognitively demanding task, without distraction. Jordan embodied this principle like no other athlete. While others relied on raw athleticism, Jordan mastered the mind game. His secret: film study. When he watched his opponents like a scientist, Jordan didn't just see defenders, he saw patterns. He noticed how a player reacted under pressure, which direction they leaned when defending, how they adjusted their footwork late in a game. And once he understood their weaknesses, he exploited them. 2. He studied his own mistakes. Most players forget about a bad game and move on. Jordan, he obsessed over his failures. If he missed a shot, he rewound the tape until he found the exact mistake. If he lost a game, he figured out why and never made the same error twice. It wasn't just physical. It was psychological warfare. The mindset of champions, the pain of failure. Michael Jordan once said, "I have failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed." This wasn't just a motivational quote. It was his reality. He missed over 9,000 shots. He lost almost 300 games. He failed to hit the game winner 26 times. But instead of fearing failure, he used it. Every missed shot was a lesson. Every loss was a step forward. Because he knew mastery is built in the quiet moments of failure. Arjun's turning point, learning through setbacks. Back in his village, Arjun faced his own failures. Some nights he fell asleep before he could finish his lessons. Some days his borrowed books were taken away. Many times he felt like giving up. But he remembered the words of an old man who once told him, "The bamboo tree takes years to grow beneath the soil, but once it breaks through, it shoots up fast. Be like the bamboo, Arjun." So Arjun kept studying. And just like Jordan's game film, every mistake he made became a lesson. Then one day his patience paid off. A school was built in his village. Arjun enrolled immediately. And though he was behind in his studies, he had one advantage: he knew how to learn. One study like a scientist. If you want to be great in your field, don't just work, analyze. Study the patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities. Break everything down into small, learnable pieces. 2. Treat failure as a lesson, not a loss. Every time you fail, ask, why did this happen? Look for the pattern behind your mistakes. Make small adjustments until you master the process. 3. Work in the dark before you shine in the light. Michael Jordan became great behind closed doors. He put in the work when no one was watching. If you want success, you must do the same. 4. Become obsessive about details. The difference between good and great is in the details. Jordan didn't just train, he studied, adjusted, and refined. Whatever you're doing, take it to another level. 5. Build your mental edge. Most people quit because they let their emotions control them. The greatest competitors use failure to get better. Train your mind to see losses as stepping stones to success. Michael Jordan wasn't the tallest, the fastest, or the strongest player in NBA history. But he outworked, outstudied, and outthought everyone. He knew where you would step before you stepped. He knew how you would react before you reacted. He wasn't just playing the game, he was controlling it. And that's why he became the greatest. The clock is ticking down in the NBA Finals. LeBron James, at 35 years old, is dominating younger, faster, and stronger opponents. He grabs a rebound, pushes the ball up the court, and scans the floor. In a split second, he makes a decision that only a basketball genius could make. A perfect pass. A game-winning play. He wasn't always this player. There was a time when critics said, "He can't shoot. He's just an athlete. He's too old." But LeBron James has a superpower that makes him different. He reinvents himself. Again, and again, and again, because he understands one thing better than almost anyone else in sports. Greatness isn't about what you've done, it's about what you're willing to do next. In a distant village, a boy named Arjun faced a harsh reality. His family was poor. His village had no school. His future looked like every other child's in his town, working in the fields, struggling to survive. But Arjun wanted more. He wanted an education. He wanted to rise above his circumstances. Yet every time he tried to study, people laughed at him. "You're wasting your time, Arjun. This is our life, accept it. You'll never make it." For a moment, he almost believed them. But deep inside, he knew something powerful. If he wanted to change his life, he had to change himself first. He had to reinvent the way he learned, the way he worked, the way he thought. Just like LeBron James is one of the greatest athletes in history. Not just because of his talent, but because of how much he invests in himself. Every year, he spends $1.50 million on his body. Personal chefs, cryotherapy chambers, hyperbaric oxygen therapy, recovery specialists, strength coaches. Most players train hard, but LeBron trains smart. He understands that greatness isn't just about what you do on the court, it's about how you prepare off it. Cal Newport's book Deep Work teaches that success isn't about how long you work, it's about how focused you are. LeBron applies this principle everywhere in his life. His workouts aren't just random exercises, they're scientifically optimized for peak performance. His diet isn't just about eating clean, it's tailored to his body's exact needs. His recovery isn't just resting, it's a strategic system to maximize longevity. This is why, at an age when most players are slowing down, LeBron is still at the top. When LeBron entered the NBA, he was an explosive athlete. But he had weaknesses. He wasn't a great shooter. He struggled under pressure. He relied too much on his physical gifts. Most players stick to what they're good at. LeBron did the opposite. Every offseason, he reinvented his game. 0.2009, he improved his defense. 0.2012, he perfected his post moves. 0.2015, he became a better three-point shooter. 0.2018, he refined his basketball IQ, playing more like a point guard. He never stopped evolving. Just like Arjun, who found new ways to learn, LeBron found new ways to win. LeBron's greatness isn't just in basketball. He's built a billion-dollar empire by applying the same mindset to business. He invested in Spring Hill Entertainment, producing TV shows and movies. He co-founded Uninterrupted, a platform that gives athletes their own voice. He partnered with Nike, Beats by Dre, and Blaze Pizza, securing deals worth hundreds of millions. And most importantly, he took control of his narrative. Most athletes rely on teams and agents to shape their careers. LeBron built his own team. He surrounded himself with mentors and experts. He helped his childhood friends become business leaders. He made sure that every move he made had a long-term purpose. Because he understood this, the real game isn't basketball, the real game is life. In his village, Arjun had to think long-term too. He didn't just want to learn for today, he wanted to build a future. So instead of waiting for opportunities, he created his own. He didn't just learn for himself, he helped others study too. He didn't just wish for a school, he fought to bring education to his village. He didn't just escape poverty, he lifted his entire community. One day he became a teacher, changing countless lives. Why? Because like LeBron, he thought beyond himself. Invest in yourself. You don't need $1.50 million. But you do need to invest time, effort, and energy into personal growth. Learn new skills. Take care of your body. Protect your mind. 2. Never stop learning. Just like LeBron added new skills every year, you must do the same in your field. The world changes, you must evolve. 3. Build the right team. Success isn't just about working hard, it's about who you surround yourself with. Find mentors. Learn from experts. Eliminate distractions. 4. Control your narrative. LeBron didn't let people define his story, he defined it himself. Take ownership of your career, your choices, and your future. 5. Think long-term. Most people chase short-term success. The truly great ones build something that lasts. LeBron James wasn't just born great. He made himself great again and again. He redefined his game. He rebuilt his weaknesses. He reinvented himself over and over. And today, at nearly 40 years old, he's still proving one thing. True greatness isn't about what you've done, it's about what you're willing to do next. Do you know how LeBron James transformed one of his biggest weaknesses into a strength that changed his entire career? Answer: early in his career, LeBron James was criticized for his poor three-point shooting. Defenders would leave him open, daring him to shoot. Instead of ignoring this weakness, LeBron dedicated himself to improving it. He studied Stephen Curry's shooting mechanics, worked with elite shooting coaches, and practiced tirelessly. Over the years, his three-point shooting percentage jumped from 29% in his rookie season to over 40% in clutch playoff moments. By reinventing his game, LeBron not only eliminated a weakness, he turned it into a weapon that helped him dominate the league for 2 decades. The lesson: success is a bamboo tree. There's a reason why Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron James became legends. It wasn't luck. It wasn't just talent. It was deep work. Just like the bamboo tree, success doesn't come overnight. For years, you might not see any progress. You might struggle. You might fail. But those who stay consistent, work in silence, and refuse to quit will one day rise above everyone else. The world remembers champions. But champions are made in the darkness, long before the spotlight shines on them. So the question is, are you willing to do what they did? If you found this video inspiring, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this with someone chasing greatness. And remember, the next time you feel like giving up, think about the bamboo tree. Your success is coming. Keep working. Keep believing. Keep pushing. If you found this video insightful, hit that like button, share it with a friend, and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. Next up, we'll explore another life-changing lesson, one that will redefine how you see success, power, and happiness. Thank you for watching Innovative Book Philosophy. And this is just the beginning. In upcoming videos, we'll dive deeper into power, influence, and the hidden forces shaping our world. Subscribe now and let's keep uncovering the truth together.